9. And I think I asked you guys to bring in your pictures from your panoramic, right? And we're going to do that together in class tonight. And so if you go to week 9 in Eagle, the top of week 9 has a link that says complete panoramic from week 8 and view photos. And then it goes to this page, and it says here to upload photos, site panoramic, follow directions in the file. All you're going to do basically on this one is you need to, like, say you created 3 sessions of panoramics, 3 separate folders on your desktop is what you're going to have to do. Dump the photos in separate folders on your desktop. It's all right up here on the board. So step 1, you want to create a folder or folders to dump your photos in on your Mac desktop. On a Mac desktop, it's control click. Control click on your Mac desktop will allow you to create a folder. So create folders. 2, you want to place photos in folders. And step 3, we're going to actually use the Dermander website, which I believe I went over right before break, kind of how it works. And so the Dermander website, I do recommend before you do anything on the Dermander website to sign up, create a quick account. It won't take you that long to create one. That way it'll save your panoramic after you've uploaded it. But basically you're going to create 3 panoramics. Say you created, if you created 3 you brought tonight, 3 panoramics you're going to upload to Dermander. You're going to decide which one you like the best, and that's the one you're going to send me. So go ahead and go to dermander.com if you want to on your Chrome web browser, and we'll sign up together. It's dermandar.com, and it's also on the page for week 8 take home. Once you decide on the photo that you like, you're going to download it from the Dermander site. Because the steps, I think I show you how to use Photoshop. We're just going to do Dermander on this. You can do Photoshop later if you want to, because the steps are in there to do it. Don't worry about cropping to 17 by 11. Dermander crops it for you when you upload it, so you don't have to worry about that. You will need to upload the Dermander image to your week 8 set once class is over. You don't need to do it tonight. And the email to chucon.pano17@foki.com. Attach your photo, subject line your last name, and then it's going to send it to the panoramic site on my Foki account, right? And so Dermander, once you get into the Dermander site and you've signed up, let me show you real quick on the overhead how to create your panoramic. Let's go back to the Dermander. If you click on the Dermander icon, it's the best way to do it, I think. And click create. And I need Chrome doesn't like Flash tonight. Your Chrome should be okay, but my laptop doesn't like Chrome. Chrome doesn't like Flash on my laptop. Once this loads up, we're going to choose the, not the full 360, but the wide angle one, I believe, is the one we want to choose. I have to switch computers here. How many has their photos, at least one folder dropped? You've got your photos in there already? Okay, so be doing that while I'm getting mine ready here. So go ahead and do your photos first, get those dumped first while I'm getting Dermander up. Do what? Oh, on the, oh, I wrote it down wrong, okay. Yeah, it's Dermander AR. So we'll get your photos. I'm guessing that's going to take a little bit. So, how many? At least 2 sets of photos. Okay. How many of you had 1 set you brought? Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and dump those to a folder on your desktop, and then we'll show you on the overhead how to do it. Do you have yours dumped yet? Okay. Do me a favor on. I'll use yours as an example. Let's see here. On your folder that's on your desktop, if I'll pretend this is your folder. If you control click on this on your folder on your desktop and go to compress, it'll compress it and make it a zip file. See that? Then go up to your Mac on the upper right corner and turn on Wi-Fi. If it's off, turn it on. It should look like mine on the overhead if it is on.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Now go to the Go menu on the Mac, the Go menu, and go down to AirDrop. And I'm going to change mine to where you can see me. And let's see here. Yeah, I'll tell you what my name is here. Second, I am just the whole folder is fine. Let's see here. I am PC22757. And just drop that zip file right on top of on that number. All right, cool. All right. Cool. These are yours, right?
Yep.
All right, sweet.
actually really cool, and it seems like it's much easier.
Do what?
It seems like it's much easier to do than Photoshop.
Oh, it's much easier to do in Photoshop, yeah. And I think it does better quality, actually, in Photoshop. Okay, if you want to take a break real quick for just a second and watch mine on the overhead, I borrowed her photos to show how to do it. I've logged in, registered and logged in. I'm going to select wide angle. You could do 360 later. Some of you did a 360. I think I told you you could do that for fun. We're going to do the wide angle. And then I'm going to browse out to the folder where her pictures are. Select all the files. Click open. It's going to process all of them. Doesn't really matter what order they're in. It'll figure it out like it already did already. And there is the panoramic. That's how easy it is. And once it's finished with the panoramic, you can click on this little options and save as large image on your local drive. And that's the one that you're going to send to me. So I'm going to save this one on my desktop. And I'm just going to name it Pano. So I'll know what it is. It's a JPEG, and let me see what size it is. It should be okay size-wise. It's 947 KB, so it's going to be fine size-wise. But this is what it looks like, a flat version of it right there, and that's perfect. That's all I need you to send to me at the Foki link on the instructions. Doesn't that look pretty cool? Pretty awesome, right? For something totally free to use. And this guy does have some commercial upgrades. If you have like a GoPro, or if you have other types of high-end video or audio picture rendering cameras, you can upload it to that. And it should save it to your panoramics once you create it.
Where are we submitting that on?
Do I know?
Where are we submitting that on?
What's it?
I said, where are we submitting that on?
The instructions are there in week 8.
It's all it says is just.
Let me switch my screens here so you can see it. There should be an email that you have to send it to, right?
Okay.
Yeah, so the email there on number, 4? Remember, create a new email to that email address, attach the image from step 2, which is the JPEG, subject line your last name, and then confirm it's sent. Click on the website there, which goes to the Foki page.
Okay.
Do I know? I'm sorry. No, it doesn't. No, I said it does not have to be 17 by 11. No problem. Yep. Okay. Yep, I'm not calling it as well. So you could view it, but you're running out of call memory. That happened. Let's see here.
save the picture, we don't need to create an account.
Do I know?
So just to save it to our desktop, we don't need to create an account.
You don't have to create an account to do what we just did. You don't have to. No. I recommend it, but you don't have to. And as soon as you get through saving your JPEG to your Mac, you can upload it in the directions given in the 8 take home, which has an email to send it to. Yep, be right there. No, you don't need to make a 17. Just whatever remainder downloads that's what you want. So go to your commander site. You'll have to go first. Oh, you already got them? Okay. Just go ahead and click on one of them. Have you already downloaded one? Okay. Where's the JPEG? Yeah, so that's the only ones you need to, whichever one you've chosen is the one you want to upload. So if you go to week 8, the email number 4, you'll have to send it to your RBC email. You'll have to go to RBC email. So you'll need to use RBC email. On number 4, guys and gals, you'll need to use RBC email or Gmail to send it that photo. Email will not work. Yeah. I'm not refreshed it. If you click on that link, though, it should show you it's there. What else? You did the ShootCon plus PM17 at Poke.com. 79. Yeah, let me look here. Oh my God. I put an S in there. It's Pano without an S, not Panos. It's Pano 17. I apologize. It's not Panos. It's Pano singular. Pano 17. Sorry about that. So that's why it's not showing up, guys. No, that's why it's not showing up. So yeah, ChewCon plus Pano 17 at Voki.com. And that should work. Sorry about that. Did anybody need help on how to upload your panoramic to Demander? Those of you who signed up? It's a little tricky. I think most of you figured it out, looks like. You basically just have to click the upload button again. Name it. Select your photo. The way I did it, I just hit the share button in Pano and Demander and uploaded it. And I think it asks you for location, title. You don't have to put location, by the way, just title is fine.
The person that sent her picture the first time, was that a target?
Do what now?
That was targeted.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
Oh my God. Okay, you're gonna kill me. I use. Oh man. Okay, I give up. No, I'm just kidding. Let me fix it. You don't do anything on your end. I'm about to do something on my end here, so you're okay. If you did send it though, please resend it again. Again, yes, again. Oh.
Better work this time.
Yeah, really. You just send yours. Yes, success. Woo. Yours. Read. There we go. All right. We'll look at all of them once you guys send them all in. All right. While you're still sending them, let me show you on the overhead. If you didn't sign up for the account, I wanted to show you how to upload this once you're done. The way I did it is once I created, I hit, and I downloaded that JPEG, hit share, drag and drop, and then you gotta go to options, upload, put in whatever title, upload, update. Then it gives you the name, everything you put in, click confirm. It's starting to upload. And then it should show up when you go to my account on Panoramics. It should show up then. My Panoramic should show up. There it is. So I did have 10 before, now I have 11. So let's see here. Panel 1, Panel 2, Testing Center. There's the one I just did. Cool. And that Demander site too, you can use the code to put on Facebook, Twitter. If you have a web page, you can put the embed code on there. And I think you can toggle between 512p and 1295p, which is high def streaming, which looks a lot nicer. Another note while you're still sending it via email, next week I'm going to print out the ones you guys have given me in Foki, bring them to class, and bring in some mat boards. So I'll pass this around, show you one that the student did prior semester. She did one. She was actually homebound when she did hers inside her house. But basically, it's a panoramic inside of her living room. I'm going to show you how to mount it in a black mat board with a 3M spray. I do that a lot at home with pictures, 8 by 10 glosses and stuff. It's a real inexpensive way to post photos with the same way. You'll see a lot of art galleries do it that way. So I'll show you how to do that. Before I was a teacher, I was a graphic designer, so I did a lot of portfolio designs and stuff. So I'll show you some tricks next week to impress your friends and family on photo layout. All right, let's see what we got here. Let's see what we got. We're going to look at those who have uploaded theirs thus far, and then we're going to continue on with week 9. All right, here we go. Whose photo is this? All right. So let's see. I'm going to see if I can go into slideshow mode. So hang on just a second here. Let's go into bigger mode than that. Let's do that one. There we go. Okay. All right, so how many photos? 3, okay. And what time of day? 1 o'clock in the afternoon, okay. So pretty good sun for that time of day. Don't really, sometimes on these panoramics every once in a while, if your picture overlap is next to a pole or a tree, sometimes that messes it up, but that's about the only thing you got to watch for. That looks really good, by the way. What about this one? Who did this one? All right, so how many photos?
8.
8, and what time of day?
It was around 12:30, 1 o'clock.
12:31. And again, don't see any breaks in it. It's a good width. So you are back a ways from the scene here. So good job. Who did this one? And you did this on this is a GoPro photo, right?
Yes.
And where was this located at? Okay.
We were heading on our way back to California, so that's what that is.
Okay.
There's actually 2 photos.
Okay. And what time of day? All right. Looks good. Good job. And who took this photo? And how many photos? 4. And what time of day? I like a lot of times when we take photos, we wait for like perfect skies or sunny skies, and really luminous skies, ominous skies, I think give a richer kind of effect because it really pops out the. You're going to say something?
Yeah, actually, took me a while back. I just thought it'd be cool.
Yeah, it really, like I said, pops out the gold color of the field here, having that dark sky. So good job. Who took this one? All right, and how many photos? 5. And what time of day? Was it near sunset or sunrise? Sunrise, okay. And so this has got a cool aspect as far as the curvature of the road. You're off to, looks like, is this like a cul-de-sac? Back in, okay, cool. That's good. Good job. And who took this one? How many photos is this? How many frames did you take? 8? Yeah. Yeah, this is a pretty wide width. And where's this located at? Okay. And what time of day? Yeah. That's a really nice width and probably looks really good on the Dermander as far as when it's blown up because you can see a lot more height. One of the things with panoramics is they're not real high, long, and so that's why it's nice to blow up and have them printed a little larger. By the way, a photo like this up here on this Ozobot stand at Office Depot, this is about $35, which isn't really that bad. And it's glossy cover. It's rolled up when you get it, and you can put it on a poster or mount it to a wall. What I like to do is mount it to poster board like this. I'll take multiple poster boards, put them together if it's a really wide one, and then 3M spray, and then that could actually fit on here if it was a landscape, and then you could put it up on a wall somewhere. That look pretty cool. And you can also get these cork boards in black, which I like it the black versus white. I got the white here because we were using it for instructional thing a while back, but for photos I like to use black. Okay, who took this one? Oh, gee, that's all right. That's fine. Good photo. How many photos was in this? 5. And was this like morning or afternoon? Yeah, good job. And this photo. Who took this one? Yours too? Yeah, that's all right. How many photos on this one? 9. And you can really almost see on some of these wide ones, the really wide ones, you can actually start seeing like curvature of the earth, which you're not going to be able to see on just a normal, framed photo shot. You're just not going to see them. And panoramics, you're going to see that. Even with the regular lens, you're going to see that. So the wider spectrum you get, the further back you are, you actually can see like the curvature of the earth through that. All right, so good job. Awesome. All right, so next week when you come to class, I'm going to have some black mat boards up here, some 3M spray, some X-Acto knives, and one at a time I'm going to have you come up. I'll show one or two of you how to do it at first, and then you're going to kind of stay up here, those two that I show, to help 2 at a time kind of go through to get it done. But next week you'll take home your 11 by 17 mounted in a black mat board. And by the way, Michael's is where I always get mine, and they have really good sales a lot of times on black mat boards. You can even get poster size boards for your prints, like poster frames, like for movie frame size, like theater, like that you see at a theater for like, $5-6. So definitely recommend that. All right, so this week we're going to be covering in week 9 landscape. And good job again on the panoramics. We're going to look at some examples. All right, so when you're dealing with landscape, you're dealing with maximizing your depth of field. Now, it's not panoramic, but it's kind of a mini panoramic. And you're trying to get as much as possible in the frame. Because of that, though, you're going to have to do some things as far as the simplest way it says here to ensure that the scene is in focus as much as possible is to choose a smaller aperture number, which would be a large number. The smaller the aperture, the greater depth of field you're going to have, to where you can focus on things up close maybe, and maybe not so much in the background. Do keep in mind the smaller apertures mean less light hitting the sensor. So at any point, it means you need to compensate by either increasing the ISO. But if you use your camera on this week in aperture mode, it'll adjust the ISO for you, so you don't have to worry about that. There are times when you get some great results, it says here, with a very shallow depth of field, where you're basically seeing everything at once. Tripod, yeah, you don't have to have one. I know most of you probably didn't use one this last week. Even for landscape, you don't. Just keep your camera steady. I like to lean up against things a lot of times, or kneel down, or even sit down. And again, one of the reasons why I have to keep a little bit steadier shot is because of the smaller aperture. And so tripods sometimes will help, but you don't have to have it. Focal point. For this week, I want you to focus on focal points that you're looking at. So all shots need some focal point that you're focusing on, and landscape photographs without them end up looking like blah, basically. And so if you have some focal point that you're looking at, whether it be an example of a while back, I took some photos of the dam in Oregon. Is that right? Yeah. And really up close. There's some people fishing, but I didn't want to get the folks in the shot. So I had to literally get almost right down on the water next to the dam to get the photo I wanted. And they did have a dock right next to it where you get close up to it. So, but there was a structure coming out of the dam that I wanted to get a shot of. It was actually like a big limb, like a tree trunk, basically. In which I got a shot of that, and the water just hitting that like crazy. And everything else was kind of blurred in the background. But focal point is important. And in landscape, you would think it'd be hard to find a focal point or difficult, and it is sometimes. And what you need to do basically is just like if you pretend you didn't have a camera and you were just sightseeing for a second, whatever your eye is caught looking at, that's your focal point. That's the way I like to tell students. So forget the camera for a second when you're walking around this week, thinking of cool landscape shots, and just think of shots as you go throughout your day, as you're driving by. And, you know, and I have to make a disclaimer here. When you're driving by, don't take a photo while you're driving. I've had students do that in the past. So stop the car, get out, take the photo. But, you know, a lot of times I do the same thing. I'll see something when I'm driving, have to turn around and take a photo. So, but keep your cameras with you this week as always, and you should be fine when it comes to getting a good landscape shot. But focal points can take many forms in landscape. Could range from a building, like I talked about earlier, the tree coming out of the water, a boulder, rock formation, silhouette. You know, you've seen maybe a cool landscape of a person, people getting married at the end of it. And I've done a lot of weddings over the years, both officiating weddings and taking photos. And you've seen these silhouette rights where they're on the beach and the couple's holding hands or they're kissing. You really can't make out their face or anything, but it's, you know, just a silhouette with the sun in the background coming up over. And so think not only of what the focal point is, but where you place it. Rule of thirds is important. Upper right, upper left, lower right. There's really any one of those four quadrants is going to work. Unlike portrait photos that we're going to do in a few weeks, portraits you generally stay in the upper register of the rule of thirds, the upper right or upper left, but not so much in landscape. We will talk about this in a little bit, but also on landscape, make sure if you have sky and land, it's a 1/3, 2/3 rule. So if you you want either 1/3 sky, 2/3 land, 2/3 sky, 1/3 2/3 sky, 1/3 land, 1/3 sky, 2/3. You know what I'm talking about. 1/3, 2/3 on the sky or land. Think foregrounds. Now, this is kind of tricky sometimes. One element that can set apart landscapes is a foreground in your shots. And when you do this, it kind of gives more sense of depth. An example is even like this picture here of these dandelions is a really good foreground to this awesome, ominous mountains, right? So it gives depth to the photo with really not much work, right? You're just getting down closer to the ground to get the shot, but it's really adding more depth to your image. I saw this cool example. It was a family portrait landscape where the family was on a hill, and they put leaves in front of the family, like mounds of leaves, not enough to where it covered you couldn't see their face or anything, but just a little bit, and it added depth to the photo. Just some fun leaves there in the front. So think of foreground a lot of times for foreground, you have to get different perspective on angle, like this photo here. Get down to the ground level to get that perspective. An example I saw a while back was a picture of a train track and wanting to get a foreground of a train track. So the photographer got right on the ground next to the train track ties, and it was like really right up in front of the photo, right up close, and then everything else was in the background. And so that kind of gave some depth to it. Sky, consider the sky in your landscape. Most landscapes will either have a dominant foreground or sky, unless you have one or the other. It can be fairly boring. If you have a bland, boring sky, don't let it dominate. Like the shot on the panoramic over here, where you had the ominous sky, you kind of a darker sky. That's a great example of having a good sky. Because really, a boring sky is like cloudless, no activity sky. Really, it's kind of boring. It's nice to be out in it, but it's not much activity. Goes on and says, don't let it dominate your shot. Place a horizon in the upper third of your shot. However, you will want to make foreground interesting. However, the sky is filled with drama, cloud formations, colors, let it shine, and place the horizon in the lower level. So the horizon in this case would be like the 1/3, and the sky would be like 2/3. Enhancing the sky. Definitely this week, if you want to do post manipulation in either Photoshop or Pixlr, play with it. You guys did an awesome job, by the way, in Pixlr. I know for some of you in the Photoshop world, wasn't much of a jump because it's pretty close, kind of a dumbed down Photoshop. But some of you new to Photoshop or new to photo manipulation, keep doing that because every photo I've ever taken has had some photo manipulation. Every one. It'd be nice to say, 50% down or 30, no, every 100% post manipulation. So you're going to do that. And that's where I think Pixlr to me comes in handy because I can have any device, be it any computer, any tablet, and fire up that website Pixlr and do my editing on the fly. Mainly, I like to play with levels a lot. So I use Pixlr mainly for leveling pictures, which is really the best way to do it, I think, and the easiest way to manipulate. So here's a cool example of lines in a photo. This is a picture of a sky that's pretty ominous. Sunsets, cool. But then the lines in the actual road keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going. And you don't really know where it ends. It just keeps going. And so that in the mind of the viewer, they're wanting to know where this road's going, where's it leading, where's it coming from, all those questions. And those are good. And lines will help you do that. Lines will definitely help you do that. And again, this is an example of a road, but it could be lines of telephone poles. It could be lines of, I've seen lines of people, jets going across the sky and using those as lines, landscape lines of skyscrapers. Movement. When most people think of landscape, they think of calm, serene, passive environments. However, landscapes are rarely completely still. You guys probably figure that out this week when you do the pano, especially those of you that had 5, 6, 7 photos. By the time you got to the 7th, 8th photo, maybe the sky shifted a little bit or wind or something shifted, and movement happens, especially over time. Same thing with landscape. It's going to help with adding mood to the photo. So wind in the trees is good. Waves on the beach is good. Water flowing is good. Birds flying in the photo is good. Moving clouds is good. So capturing this moment generally means you need to look at a longer shutter speed. And so you can play with shutter speed mode on, say, maybe 1 out of the 10 pictures you're going to take this week. You want to focus on movement. So maybe you say, or 2 out of the 10. You're like, I'm going to play around with shutter mode on this one to see if I can really capture some movement here. So maybe go to rock cut, go to some, some moving water or something to see if you can capture some movement that way with a longer shutter speed. And so it's good. It's a good week to practice with longer shutter speed and see what it does and experiment with it. And I know most of you probably aren't. Any early morning people in here? Early morning, like early morning, like it's like 4 o'clock in the morning. People, I'm that way. I didn't used to be that way. Just the last 10 years, I was definitely not that way till 10 years ago. But anyway, I love early mornings now, and because when I was a kid, I grew up on a farm. Anybody grew up on a farm or you worked on a farm in here, or know people that have? Okay, farmers, you don't get away from it. You have to get up early in the morning. So as a kid, I always had to get up at like 3:30, 4 in the morning. I hated it. Literally hated it. And I get out there and do the chores and the cows and stuff. But about 10 years ago, I really fell in love with getting up early because I get a lot of stuff done before anybody gets up. I literally have a lot of stuff done before 7, 8 o'clock in the morning now. But photography is the same way though. Right when the sun comes out, when there's dew on the ground, every morning, regardless of what the fall, summer, spring, winter season, doesn't matter. There's some type of dew on the ground every morning. If it's winter, it really freezes quickly, and you get a different light in that early morning dew than you do any other time of the day, regardless of what the season is. And so I found out getting up early in the morning, like here at Rock Valley, off of Mulford here, traveling this way in the morning about 4:30. A lot of times I'd say, tons of times throughout the year, there's tons of fog that hover over on this side of the campus where the sports soccer fields are. And the fog can be like 8 to 10 feet tall. And it's from the ground level, about 8 to 10 feet up. But when you get out of your car, I park over at that clinic over there, you can literally walk right into the fog. And then there's a spot in the ground where you can walk above it. And you're literally above the fog and you're looking out over the fog, like kind of you're in the clouds basically. And so, but you're not going to get that anytime but early in the morning. The reason I mention that is I know most of you aren't early morning people. You might say, okay, I'm going to try to do it one morning this week, get up early, and just pick any spot, doesn't matter. It can be right around where you live. And everything looks different early in the morning. It could be outside your backyard, it could be across the street, whatever. And say, I'm going to take a photo of this. And what I challenge you to do is take a photo of whatever scene it is around your house the night before, like at sunset. Get up early in the morning, right when the sun's coming up. Take the same photo in the same spot. And you'll see a big difference as far as just the light, the hues. Everything is just richer, I think, in the morning. So weather. We've had weather the last few days. America, U.S. has had weather all over. But weather can really help when it comes to getting good photos. So don't just look for sunny days. In fact, this week, I think we don't really have any sunny days this week. I think we got the next one's like Sunday, Monday next week. I looked at the forecast. So you're going to have a lot of dreary, cloudy skies the next week while you're taking these photos, which is good for landscapes. Golden hours, that's right before the sun sets. Make sure and take photos there. It says I chatted with one photographer recently who told that never shoots during the day. He only shoots times around dawn and dusk because that's when the light's the best. And I definitely agree. The light is the best, definitely in the dawn side of it. I lean more towards the dawn now, even though it is awesome at dusk as well. But golden hours are where things come alive, like talked about the dew in the morning. And in the evening, what makes it come alive is depending on the sunset, the way the sun hits across the textures of the land, the textures of the scene can create interesting patterns, dimensions, and also horizons. When you're taking a landscape this week, horizons come on two fronts. Is it straight? Well, you can always straighten images later in post-production. It's easier to get it right in the camera. So that's one. Is it compositional? Compositionally natural spot for horizons, 1/3 lines in an image, either top or bottom, rather in the middle. And again, you can do that post-production, but it's better to do it while you're taking the photo. But then also there's times where rules can be broken, like in this example here. It's literally right in the middle. This example here is the road. The photographer got right in between the two yellow lines in the middle of the road, took a photo of the smack dab in the middle of the road. So that's a focal point, was that piece right there, right here, and then everything else is blurred in the background. And again, sometimes you can break the rules on rule of thirds to make a cool shot like that. And then changing your point of view. You drive up to the scenic lookout, you get out. Like say you're going to Galena, there's tons of lookouts between here and Galena. You grab your camera, you walk to where everybody else is walking, and we've all done it. But what about those side paths or those paths around the back of the scenic route, or that nobody travels down or very few people do? Those are really where you get a good shot a lot of times, like the wow type of shots. So take a little bit more time this week when you're taking photos. Think a little bit more about what you're shooting before you shoot it. Wander down paths you've not walked around. Maybe get around this area. Definitely Rock Cut would be a good one. Tons of parks and reservations would be a good one to go down this week. And probably more than I do in this area. So you might even live around some that you can take a cool walk and get some really good landscape shots. But different perspective and point of view means you got to get out of the beaten path, away from where normal people walk and traverse, and you'll really get some awesome shots. So that's the landscape notes. For your homework, before we talk about that, I want to look at some examples. And while we're looking at some examples, I want you to think about, what does landscape photography capture that's unique from portrait photography, or maybe even unique from what you just got through doing, which was panoramic photography. So we're going to look at 36 examples of landscape and one other one. And while we're looking at these, again, be thinking of what is different about it. I'm going to change my browser to RVC. It's loading slowly. That was not working. Let's go to the next one. There we go. We're going this one. That's a lot nicer. I'm just going to blow up this a little bit to where we can see it. All right, cool. So this is entitled Landscape Sunrise. And we're just going to look at these as we go along. I'm not going to really explain anything. We're just going to look at them. Just want you to kind of look at, as if you were walking along and you saw these landscapes, kind of think of that. And in your mind, what's different about them from everything else you've taken thus far. So this is called Lavender Sunrise. Sunflowers. And as you're looking at these, look for focal points that you think is a focal point. And I'm not going to tell you what I think a focal point is. I want you to think what the focal point is. And for some, it could be different. Deep red. A lot of foreground on that one. Apocalypse Now. It might take a second, but you don't know if you noticed there's lightning here in the background over in this section here. Yeah, takes just a little bit to see it. Bamboo forest. Frozen forest. Bolivia. Bag and balloons. It might take a few seconds on this one, but there's hot air balloons in the background popping up ever so lightly here in the background. The Church of the Good Shepherd. Post-production in this one. Yes. In fact, all these had post-production. This one maybe a little bit more possibly, but still pretty awesome. It almost looks like a painting. And again, if you want to do post-production yours this week and add colorization and make things pop out more, you can definitely do that. Tulip field. That's a lot of pink tulips. My wife loves pink tulips. Have you ever seen a tulip field that big? Huge. Terraced rice field at sunset. And this is an aerial shot, by the way, high up on a hill. Winter silence. That's pretty awesome. It's a lot of fog. Springtime. Three colors. Symmetry. Aspen Cathedral. Trees watching sunrise. Fields of tea. An umbrella. Blue pond and first snow. We'll look at two more. Autumn with tractor. Pretty cool. Tractor's way back there. And last one, labyrinth.
Looks like a zebra print. That looks like a zebra print.
Yeah, exactly. So in your mind, what do you think is different? Whatever you think is different, submit that right now in the in-class week 9. Just a real quick sentence or thought on what you think is different about landscape versus portrait photography versus every other photography you've taken up to this point, piano photography. So what does it capture that is unique, I guess? To me, basically, it's unlike piano and portrait both, is you're capturing like a scene in a moment, kind of, with the landscape. You're just like it's not a piano, but just like a slice of a panoramic, a slice of a scenery, which if you catch the right scene, so it can be pretty cool. And that's why it's important, I guess, on landscape to really have a focal point to it. And there's other links you can look at in here, but we'll just look at those ones we just looked at. So submit that for week 9 in class. While you're doing that, I'm going to talk about the take home for this week, which is taking 10 photos of 10 different landscape settings. You might already have some in mind. I've already talked about some I kind of suggest as you go along. Upload those to week 9. Do what now?
What do you mean by that? Upload to week 9, because I don't have a photo key account. So
You don't have a what?
photo key account. So what do you
Yeah, you're supposed to set up another one.
Oh, you can set up a new one.
Yep. If you go to the announcements, I sent that to everybody. Plus, I think I emailed everybody when we changed that. So, but yeah, go to the announcements. There's 2 or 3 options I give you in there, I think. And I think I put an article in there to read on what you want. So yeah, Flickr was one. I can't remember what the other one was. What was it? What was it? Google Photos and Flickr. Personally, between the two, as far as what's closer to Foki, Flickr seems to be more towards what I lean towards. Even though Google works, it's just a little clunkier than Flickr. Flickr is easier to share and stuff, and just to me, it's a little nicer. So that's what I recommend, Jack. And so upload those to week 9 when you're finished, and that is it for. Oh, and one last thing I wanted to make mention was, because you have a new portrait or a new photo sharing site, I need to make this to where you submit the URL to your, because especially if you're using Google, Flickr's not so much, but Google, it's changed each time you create an album. So I'm going to be your submit instead of down below. I'm going to do submit URL to album below. We'll do that. That'll work. That way I can see your album, depending on what service you use, is going to be different. So, questions on your landscape? All right. Well, that's it. All I have for tonight. If you have any other questions, come see me. If you want to come up and look at what we're going to be doing next week, you can come up and look at the portrait up here of the piano layout. Oh, and if you did bring your binder, yeah. Let's see, that box there under the printer. It's empty there on the left. Yeah, you probably put them in there. That'll work. And let's see here. Oh, who's going to Barnes to help? Raise your hand again. Would you do me a favor and shoot me an email to remind me to bring those robots next week?
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thanks. And you guys are getting your robots next week.